Hello, everybody. This is John Paval with Access Arts Live, and this week's organ live stream action roundup for the week of April 27th to May 4th, 2026. We're already in the second quarter of the year, folks. It has gone by so quickly. This week, we have an organ scholar and his former mentor live streaming simultaneously at different venues in the UK, which I'll be telling you about shortly. Among other recitals and concerts, mixed concerts with organ and others, from Toronto to Tomsk to San Francisco and points in between. Before I go any further, let me remind you, if you love this kind of music and having access to it free of charge online, do yourself a favor, follow and or subscribe to Access Arts Live, particularly on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram. And we'll make sure that you get more than 1,000 live links to these kinds of live performances every year, not just organ recitals, but orchestras, chamber music, opera, ballet, etc. So let's move on then immediately to the first of this week's live streams. This very young man, Ethan Duan, is the guy that's up this week. First of all, Tuesday, April 28th, St. James Cathedral, Toronto, will be live streaming Ethan Duan, who's a Wayne C. Vance organ scholar at Metropolitan United Church, Toronto, that church which has the largest organ in Canada. So he's getting his training on a top instrument. This will be at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Toronto, 10 o'clock in the morning in Vancouver, 7 o'clock in the evening here in Europe. We don't know what he's going to be playing, but he's been there several years. He started out as a junior organ scholar in September 2024. It's an 87 rank, 67 speaking stops organ with 5,101 pipes, 4 manuals and 6 divisions, rebuilt in 1976 by L.A. Phelps and Associates. Then we move on to Wednesday, and Wednesday is when we will have these two organists who know each other. They know each other well because they worked together for about 3 years, both performing. Let me see if I've got a good there. I've got a good photo of the two of them. All right. Let me talk about them each at a time. It's Henry Smith and Rupert Gough. Former avid and award-winning tuba player Henry Smith plays the organ at Queen's College, Oxford this Wednesday in the mid-afternoon, while his former organ tutor, Rupert Gough, is performing on the organ at Temple Church, London. Henry Smith is up, this is Wednesday, April 29th. This will be up at 2:10 in the afternoon European time, 8:10 in the morning on the East Coast, 11:10 at night down under in Australia. He'll be playing Bach's Concerto in A after Antonio Vivaldi, BWV 593, John Stanley's Voluntary in A, Opus 6, number 2, Marcel Longetit's Toccata in G, and Florence Price's Adoration. And then he'll finish up with A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square. That's right, he'll do an improvisation on that too. He began his music studies studying the tuba as a boy, went to the Royal Northern College of Music, kept studying tuba, winning awards with it, but also studied piano and organ. 2021, he embarked on a 3-year bachelor's in music course at the Royal Holloway University, and his main study was organ under the tutorship of Rupert Gough, who's going to be playing it virtually at the same time. He's now the assistant organist at Bradfield College in Berkshire. Let me tell you about the other organist at practically the same time, 5 minutes later. Wednesday, April 29th, Temple Church, London, live streams Rupert Gough, music director at Great St. Bart's Parish and director of choral music and college organist at Royal Holloway University of London, while one of his recent former students, whom I just told you about, Henry Smith, is playing at Queen's College, Oxford. This will be at 2:15 in the afternoon European time, 8:15 in the morning on the East Coast, and 11:15 at night Australian Eastern Standard Time. We give you the link to that, to the organ at the Temple Church, London. It's a Harrison and Harrison limited organ with four manuals, complete with 3 32-feet stops. Inaugurated in the 1920s by Marcel Dupré for a ballroom up in Scotland, and then it ended up at Temple Church, London. Anyway, we don't know what he's going to be playing. We do know that he's been at Bart's, at Great St. Bart's Parish since it was founded a decade ago. He's been at Holloway since 2005, 2 decades ago. So he's a man who has staying power. He has a discography of nearly 50 commercial recordings. At Royal Holloway, they regularly have commissioned and collaborated with contemporary composers like James Macmillan, Gabriel Jackson, Tim Harland, Bo Hansen, etc. So you have at one and the same time a real master and his student. You might want to check them out. You might want to switch up and back between the two live streams and compare the concerts that they're doing. I doubt they'll mention each other during the concerts, although, they do have a tendency to introduce pieces and talk. But anyway, I thought that was a lovely occasion to see music, sort of personal music history in the making, being played before your very eyes. And I think there's one more concert on Wednesday. It's a big Easter concert, if I am not mistaken. Yes, titular organist Marina Omelchenko leads a group of soloists on violin, duduk, harp, and vocalist in the final concert of the Easter season at the Roman Catholic Cathedral in Moscow, performing works by Vivaldi, Bach, Purcell, Paganini, Mozart, Rodrigo, and more in an Art Bene live stream on April 29th. It's even though it's a Catholic cathedral, they observe Easter more in keeping with the Orthodox Church calendar. So that's why this is their final Easter concert. And this group, the group of people they brought together, are people who've been appearing in different combinations during the Easter season. So it's Abner Varius on the violin, Johannes Kazarian on the duduk. He's the head of the Moscow Duduk School, so he really knows how to play the duduk. Anna Shkurovskaya on the harp, and then these 3 singers, Svetlana Polyanskaya, the soprano, Olga Nadezdina on the contralto, and Yulia Makarians, the mezzo-soprano, also on the violin, William Kalo, who shows up regularly at that Catholic cathedral in Moscow. They'll start out with some Bach Easter chorales on the organ, segue into the Bach Gounod Ave Maria to let the singers have a chance, Vivaldi's Sonata in D major for violin and organ, some Purcell, some Gabriel Fauré, Mozart Hallelujah, Massenet's Meditation, etc., etc. Then Denis Bédard's version of Victime Pascali Laudes. He's a contemporary composer. And then Joaquin Rodrigo, an Armenian folk song, Paganini, Piazzolla's Cafe, and his lovely Ave Maria. And they'll finish up with Hans Andre Stam's Under the Starry Sky. Happy Easter from Moscow. So we then move on to Thursday, where we're back with another young gun organist, Ed Gaut. Very young. Truro Cathedral lends its Father Willis organ to young organist Ed Gaut, master of music at the Anglo Catholic Chapel at Oxford, called the Pusey House, and organist to the Jesuits' Campion Hall at Oxford. This will be April 30th, Thursday at 2:10 in the afternoon, European time, 8:10 in the morning on the East Coast, and 10 after 11 Australian Eastern Standard Time. The man inclines toward playing with the Catholics. Campion Hall, Oxford, is a personal private hall at Oxford University, home to an academic community of Jesuits. And he plays the weekly mass there. And he read music at Keble College, Oxford, for 3 years and was organ scholar there the whole time. It's a Father Willis organ, which we are told has the standard Willis hallmarks. Quote, tierce mixtures on grate and swell, characterful gadacks on the choir, and a small but telling pedal division. Excuse me for just a moment. Sorry about that. That was just a little technical thing we had to take care of. We don't know what Edward Gaut is going to be playing, but if you want to hear a lovely Father Willis organ played by a very old organ played by a very young man, there you have it. That organ was delivered by Boat and installed in 1887. And it's almost identical one that Henry Willis built for the church that became Coventry Cathedral. It was called St. Michael's at the time. And then we move on to yet another live stream this week. And this is another mixed group at the Cathedral in Moscow. An interesting mixed group, I will say. And I do want to say hello to Marlies van der Meer, who has joined us on Instagram, and Will May 67. Welcome to the live stream. I don't see the other people joining us on other platforms, but I know you're out there. We're live streaming off of Restream, which puts us on 5 different platforms simultaneously. So and I see later when people have logged on and they liked it and all, but Instagram is the only one where I get to see you contemporaneously. So let me tell you about this group, which is a very interesting group. You've heard of piano trios, I'm sure, but have you heard of an organ trio? I mean, an organ and strings. Well, there is one. It's called Tempus Novum Art in Moscow, and it's violin, cello, and organ, and they'll be live streaming from the Catholic Cathedral in Moscow this Saturday, May 2nd, playing some works by Bach and then Vivaldi's Four Seasons. This will be at 6 in the evening European time on Saturday, noon on the East Coast in the U.S., 9 in the morning on the West Coast, 8 o'clock Moscow time. This is Tempus Novum Art is Natalia Kalinicheva on the violin, Mikhail Kalinichev, my Russian is useless, on the cello, and Anna Uchekina on the organ. They have played before at the Catholic Cathedral. Last October, they were live streamed doing The Princess and the Pea with sand animation with Lydia Miller. Last April, they did a concert of Baroque by candlelight. Here they are back. They'll start out with some organ solos on Bach. We don't know which ones, and then move into a concerto for 2 violins in D minor by Bach, BWV 1043, arranged for violin, cello, and organ. And then in the second half, they'll do Antonio Vivaldi's The Four Seasons, arranged for violin, cello, and organ. And there you see them there in the photo. We then move on to Sunday. And we have 3 live streams to tell you about coming up on Sunday. And here's the first of them, a masterful concert organist. Sunday, May 3rd, resident organist and international concert organist Thomas Ospital plays Bach and Rachmaninoff on the 7,652 pipe Van den Heuvel organ at St. Eustache Church in the heart of Paris, live stream free of charge. I guarantee you there will be hundreds of people in attendance. standing room only with people standing in the back. They just take over the church for this, and people show up, which is some of the concerts we tell you about during the week. They're in a huge cathedral, and you'll see 20 people there. Not this one. The Parisians love these concerts. The Bach piece he'll be doing is the Chaconne, BWV 1004, organ transcription by Henri Messerer. And then Rachmaninoff's L'Île des Morts, the Isle of the Dead, transcribed by Louis Robiliard. Thomas Ospital is blossoming into an international concert organist, besides having been the resident organist at Saint Eustache for the last 10 years. He came in at the same time as Baptiste Florian and Mal Ouvrard. Last fall, Marie Jacot, who's going to be taking over the Cologne Philharmonic in the fall, brought him in to play a concert with the Cologne Philharmonic, during which, after he played a Mozart piece, I think it was a Mozart concerto for orchestra and organ, he played 2 solo pieces, which I think is unusual during a concert, and the audience loved him. And then a couple of months ago in February, he was with the Los Angeles Philharmonic, and they were very excited to have him there. So he's building an international reputation as a concert organist, and I'm sure the Parisians will be there to enjoy this, and you could be there with them. Okay, then we have 2 more concerts going on that evening, though. So it's by no means is it over. On Sunday, you've got a concert on the East Coast in the U.S. and then a concert on the West Coast. And the first of them is this young gun guy, Elijah Morris. What a great name! Named after an Old Testament prophet. Red Doors Pipes Alive concert series live streams young organ scholar Elijah Morris on the Austin organ at St. John's, West Hartford, this Sunday, May 3rd, playing Bach, Mendelssohn, and Olivier Messiaen. That'll be at noon on the East Coast in Connecticut, 9:30 in the morning on the West Coast, 6:30 here in Europe. Music at the Red Door live streams regularly from St. John's, West Hartford. And so the YouTube channel is St. John's, West Hartford. We'll give you the link so you can find out more about the organ. I read through it all, and I still don't know exactly how many pipes it has. But you can find the organ specifications broken down into separate categories of pipes, but they don't just tell you it's this many altogether. Have a look at it. Anyway, it's Bach's Trio Sonata No. 2 in C minor, BWV 526, Mendelssohn's Organ Sonata No. 4 in B flat major, Opus 65, and the Dieu parmi nous, God among us, from Messiaen's La Nativité du Seigneur, the birth of the Lord. Elijah Morris is organ scholar at St. John's, West Hartford, and he's studying, he's in his sophomore year at Trinity College. And he's the assistant chapel organist at the college's chapel. So I guess he's serious about it. And then finally on Sunday, way out on the West Coast, there's one more live stream coming from Grace Cathedral, which has a terrific organ. And we have Misky 19654848, who's also joined us on Instagram. Welcome. And Meron 17G. I have no idea where these names come from, but you are all very welcome to be joining in on the live stream. Finally, okay, let's talk about this one from Grace Cathedral. Cathedral organist Christopher Keedy is featured in Grace Cathedral's live stream Sunday, May 4th, playing music of Eastertide by Charles Marie Widor, Czech composer Jiří Ropek, the improviser David Briggs, and the joyful peals, we're told, of Bach's rarely heard prelude and fugue in E major. Oh, I should have had that queued up so I could play it for you when I'm talking about it, but I don't. That'll be at 3 o'clock in San Francisco, 6 o'clock in New York City, midnight here in Europe. It's Bach's Prelude and Fugue in E major, as I mentioned, BWV 566. Widor's Chorale from his Symphonie Romane. I think that means Gypsy Symphony. Briggs's Le Tombeau de Duruflé, sections 8, 9, 10, and 11. That means the tomb of Duruflé, which is an echo of Ravel's Le Tombeau de Couperin, I'm sure. Briggs's contemporary, born 1962, puts him in his early 60s now. And then finally by Jiří Ropek, variations on the Victime Pascali Laudes. This may be the last time you hear that Easter tune. That's this one. Victime Pascali Laudes, imolent Christiani, agnus rede vito veis, Christus innocens patres, reconcilia vid peccatores. We used to sing that when I was a boy in the choir. We sang that every Easter morning. Okay, Christopher Keaty, he's the Associate Director of Music at Grace Cathedral and the main accompanist for their choir, the men and boys choir. And I sang that in a boys choir, as a matter of fact. He also has, he performs at various churches locally, but he's also performed at Trinity Church, Boston, Washington National Cathedral, St. Thomas Church on Fifth Avenue in New York, and he has collaboratively played with the San Francisco Symphony. He has his master's in organ performance from the Yale University Institute of Sacred Music. The organ is a 7,466 pipe Aeolian Skinner organ, so it's right up there with the organ at St. Eustache Church in Paris and at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris in terms of the number of pipes. They tell us, although it's an Aeolian Skinner organ, Opus 910A, that it was really designed by an Englishman named G. Donald Harrison. We will give you the link to the page so you can check that out for yourself. Grace Cathedral. And finally, we have one more organ live stream to tell you about this week, coming from out in Tomsk, Siberia. If you're an organ lover, you may not yet have heard of Isaac Dunaevsky, the Russian composer, but maybe you'd like to. Monday, May 4th, the Tomsk Philharmonic live streams house organist Dmitry Ushakov and soprano Yulia Sienkevich, performing works exclusively by Russian composers, including Dunaevsky. There's always a theme for these. This is an organ live concert. They do them every 2 weeks. There's always a theme for it. This one, it's purely Russian classics is the theme. This will be at 7 o'clock in the evening in Siberia, 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Europe, 8 in the morning in New York City, and 10 o'clock at night down under in Sydney, Australia. Dunaevsky wrote 14 operettas, 3 ballets, 3 cantatas, 80 choruses, 80 songs and romances, music for 88 plays and 42 films. 43 compositions for light music orchestra, 12 for jazz orchestra, 47 piano compositions, etc., etc. If you don't know him, you might want to discover him. He was a Jewish Russian composer through the first half of the 20th century, meaning he lived through the revolution and through the reign of Stalin. As for Yulia Sienkevich, she's a soloist with the orchestra. And she has been that for over a decade. She sings at concerts regularly with the orchestra. She also does organ and singing programs together with Ushakov and sometimes Maria Blazevich, who's their other resident organist, at the Roman Catholic Church in Tomsk and the Evangelical Lutheran Church. Why at those churches? The thing that many people do not know about necessarily about Russian Orthodox churches is they don't have organs. So it's not concert organ. So if you want to play a concert organ, you have to find a Catholic cathedral or an Anglican cathedral or a Lutheran church somewhere in Russia to do that with, and that is Yulia Sienkevich. So you can see what a lovely soprano she is, in addition to having a lovely voice. Folks, this is what we have for you this week in terms of organ live stream action. I hope that someone more or any of these live streams appeals to you, uplifts you, inspires you, or just shows you a heck of a good time. And with that, oh, hello, Sukumar Pal. Thanks for saying hello. I'm not sure what platform you're on, but you're all welcome on whatever platform. And I'll also say hello to Angie, who's joined us on 3327, who's joined us on Instagram, and Robadonta 942, who's joined us on Instagram. What fun it is to actually be able to notice when some of you are joining us. But we have now completed the roundup of this week's live streams. So I will simply remind you that if you the recording of this will be up, although we always favor live streams rather than anything recorded. I will be back tomorrow at 6 o'clock in the evening European time, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, doing the weekly roundup of chamber music. And I'll be back on Wednesday at 6 o'clock in the evening European time, noon on the East Coast, 9 in the morning on the West Coast, doing the roundup of orchestral works, because most of those come in later in the week on the weekend. Last week, we had a ballet and 3 different operas in addition to orchestral works and some choral work. So you never know what we're going to come up with. They sometimes don't give us notice until the last minute. Having said that, let me remind you, if you love this kind of thing, do yourself a favor. And if you have friends who love it, do them a favor. Follow Access Arts Live on Facebook or YouTube or Instagram and invite your friends to do so. You can invite all your friends to follow us on Facebook with one click of your mouse. I have a running ad on Facebook, a little video that shows you how to do that. And we will make sure that you continue to get more than 1,000 live links to live performances online in the coming year. Not just organ recitals, and these are terrific, but also orchestras, opera, ballet, chamber music, all over the world. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great day, and enjoy some of these live streams as they are ongoing this week. There will be a lot more. Ciao.